Hi, I'm Doug Schoen. I'm here with our Political Insiders team, my friend and colleague Pat Caddell, valued member of the Political Insiders team, and our senior executive producer, Martin Hinton, a sometimes pinch hitter, a full-time committed devotee to Political Insiders, and a scholar and
our leader,
senior producer of the Political Insiders brand. Today we're going to talk about something specific and something general. The specific is the Michigan Senate race. The general is where Senate races themselves stand in the context of Michigan. If we could put the two polls that we have on Michigan up, I would greatly appreciate it. The first poll is a Real Clear Politics average that has Gary Peters some 5 points ahead of Terry Lynn Land in the race for the open Senate seat in Michigan. A recent poll that came out, I think, at the weekend, We Ask America, has a similar margin, 3 points for Gary Peters. Pat, what do you make of all this?
Well, first thing I want to point out is what we see in a lot of these races is this huge undecided. It's a very close race. Nobody is near 50. Those polls show between 17 and 19% undecided, which I think is very high for this late in the game. Peters has had a financial advantage, but this thing is wide open, and I think that if the Republicans are going to have a big night on election, that's what we should discuss next. If they're going to have a big night, it'll be seats like this that Democrats still hope to hold on to, that they have, that will go.
Let me make a couple of points about that. I'll turn to you, Martin. What Pat is alluding to is that Peters has had a consistent 2 to 5 point lead through the entire campaign. I've been following the race pretty carefully since June, and at no time has Terry Lynn Land been even with or ahead of Peters in more than the odd poll. That being said, what Pat said is a hugely important point, and I want to turn to it and ask you, Martin, if you talk about the mood of the country. If you have a large undecided, as we have here, 14, 15%, and you have a generic vote, a preference for the Republicans, that now I think the average is about 4 points, but the New York Times poll, hardly a friend of the Republican Party, was +7 for the Republicans. That is suggestive to me that the entire political landscape could move against the Democrats if the Republicans are able to organize themselves and have a coherent and consistent message, something they've lacked. How do you see it, Martin?
I think you're absolutely right. And to that point, Pat made reference to the undecideds in this. And I guess one of the things that suggests to me is without some sort of national push from the GOP, you're going to have lower turnout. And that turnout is going to be votes that would have won Senate seats for Republicans. And you can run these races locally, which is, probably a smart way to do it in the long term. But as they get to the end there and they see these votes out there to be had, the idea that the GOP needs to come at them with a message about what's going to happen when we control the Senate, how it's going to be better for America, they're not doing that, and they need to win. They need that for a big night.
Pat?
I think the failures of the Republicans, and we have said this on Political Insiders for months and months, to have at least something like the Contract for America 94, some position that their candidates can support, to have a positive message. None of that has happened. They are running all of these races. Their consultant corps is doing the same thing they did in 2012 when they were supposed to gain maybe the Senate. But not only do they have two very bad candidates who blew themselves in the water, they lost races in North Dakota and Montana where Romney carried big races where they had establishment candidates and failed. And it seems to me they're running the same playbook. The difference is the national mood. You look at the national polls, as you pointed out, Doug, and with this huge advantage, Republicans seem to have at that level, as a referendum really on the president and what is happening. And the failure of the Republican Party to mount a national narrative, to incite that into the races, and allowing the Democrats, by the way, Doug, who are running races, they're running on issues like war against women, all these. They have a consistent playbook. It may not work, but they're applying it better in every race, and these people could pull victory from the jaws of victory.
We will take this up, the very important points Pat and Martin are making about the Democratic and Republican strategies in the Senate race. Sunday night, 7:30, Political Insiders with Harris Faulkner. Please join us then. Thanks very much.